to ECHE Music TV, where we provide tips, tools, techniques, and resources to help you grow your music ministry. My name is Simone Henry, and our topic today is about managers, what they do, what they don't do, how and when you can get a manager. I'll be talking to Wade Sutton of Rocket to the Stars. But before we get to that, we're going to play this song by Delisa Archer called Abide.
I will abide in you. Nothing I'd rather do than to be caught up in your amazing love, just to experience your blessed presence. Said it fills my cup fuller than enough, so I'll just stay right here. I believe I'll just stay right here in your presence here. I believe I'll just stay right here. And when I'm going through, just let me hide in you, because I feel so safe, wrapped in your embrace. And when I'm suffering, you are my covering. And even in this storm, I am safe from harm. So I'll just stay right here. I'll just stay right here in your presence. Oh, I believe I'll just there is no point in living without you. When I think of choices I made, for every choice I made without you, are the choices I wish I could change. But now I have joy, peace for my soul, favor and mercy wherever I go. 'Cause I finally realized all I needed in this life was just to abide. So I'll just stay right. I believe, stay right here. Lord, here in your presence. Oh, I believe I'll just right here. I want you to abide, Jesus, please. Oh, Lord, I want you to abide in me, Lord. Stay with me. Abide. Clean me out. I don't want sin to live here anymore. Turn my heart tender to your voice. I want to walk with you, Lord. Lord, walk with me, Lord. Don't ever leave, no. Oh, abide. Oh, abide. Ooh, I want you to stay right here. Stay right here. Presence here. Oh.
welcome back. This is ECHE Music TV. I'm your host, Simone Henry. Today we're going to talk about what managers do and how and when you should get one. So let's go to the first part of my conversation with Wade Sutton from Rocket to the Stars. Thank you so much, Wade, for being here on ECHE Music TV. I appreciate you taking the time out to do this with me.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So today we're going to Thank you so much, Wade, for being here on ECHE Music TV. I appreciate you taking the time out to do this with me.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So today we're going to talk about managers. And for the first segment, I want to talk about what managers do and don't do. So if you can, maybe give my audience some tips, what is a manager? What do they do?
Well, managers, it's kind of a funny thing because a lot of music artists, when you're talking to them and they're talking about their careers and where they are and the things that they'd like to see happen, one of the most common things you hear them say is, oh, if I just had a manager. But if you sit there and you start talking to them and you really begin digging, a lot of times you find out that they don't really understand what the role is of a manager. I know a lot of music artists have a tendency to think that if they hit a spot in their career where maybe things are slowing down, maybe there's not as much momentum as they would like to see, that's when a lot of them, you'll hear them fall back on that, if I only had a manager. Right. With the belief being, well, if I had this person in my corner, this person could make things happen for me, right, so that my career would maybe start progressing a little bit more quickly and
fix all the holes. And
yeah, that they're going to fix all the holes. And that's a problem. That right there is like a big red warning flag to me. And oftentimes the discussion that I end up having to have with them is saying, okay, look, one, there are a number of different kinds of managers that are out there. And in most cases, the kind of manager that the artist is daydreaming about having is effectively a day-to-day manager. And what they don't understand about a day-to-day manager, while that manager might bring into the equation their network that they have helped build, which, obviously that can include a lot of different kinds of people, entertainment attorneys, marketing experts, live music producers, other musicians, a lot of different kinds of people. The manager's job isn't necessarily to fix the problems that are already within the artist's business. They're there to help out. It sounds bad sometimes when I say this, and I definitely don't mean it in a way that's derogatory toward the people who are day-to-day managers, but in some cases, depending on what is agreed to as far as what that relationship is going to look like between the manager and the artist, in some cases, the day-to-day managers, some of them end up becoming glorified babysitters. Yeah. They're there to make sure that the artist is where they need to be at the time they need to be there, and they shuffle them around, and sometimes they're running point on some of the different things that the artist has going on. So like if they have a radio interview or something along those lines, the manager's there making sure that the artist is getting ready. They're making sure that they're up on time, because if it's a morning interview and in that radio station, that morning show is going on the air at 6 o'clock, if you're a music artist, you better be up at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, because you need to be up, you need to be awake, you need to make sure you're at the radio station on time. If you're going to be singing, you got to make sure you're doing some vocal warm-ups before you go in, because absolutely, most artists will tell you one of the worst things to do is to try to sing in the morning before your voice is warmed up. Right. So managers, that's one of the things that they're doing. They're kind of shuffling you from one place to the next, making sure that making sure that you're on time. And if you have a voice lesson scheduled with somebody, they're calling you to make sure, hey, don't forget, you've got this lesson at 4 o'clock. You got to be calling this person.
That's kind of like a personal assistant.
It is to an extent. And like I said, it depends on the agreed upon dynamics of that relationship going in, which I think is another thing that a lot of artists kind of miss the boat on. They'll bring on a manager, Whether that is somebody who's an established manager who's been doing it for a while, or in some cases you'll see they'll hire a close friend or somebody who's a relative that wants to try to help out, and they mean well. But
so somebody who's not necessarily experienced.
Right. But that conversation at the beginning where the artist says, okay, if you're going to be my manager, here are my expectations. These are the things that I think you are going to be doing for me in this role. And then the manager has to say, here are my expectations. Here's what I think being a manager is going to be, and what I'm going to expect from you. And a lot of people, they don't have that conversation, and they're like, I need a manager, and somebody says, well, I'll do it for you, and then, okay, you're my manager. And we see that a lot.
So talk to me about professional managers, people who are experienced. What do they do if they don't do the babysitter type of deal, type of things?
There are a lot of people who have managers who have vast networks. There are some people that I know in Nashville that do this managing, and they have this huge number of people that they can draw upon. One of the big things that jumps out to me are helping the artist arrange for co-writes with other songwriters, and opening doors to not just the record labels, but also the publishing companies. Because obviously that's an important aspect too. I mean, we're looking for so many different ways to monetize music.
Right.
And when I say we, I'm not like putting myself necessarily into that group of managers, because that's not what I do. But anybody who's in the music business that is really doing everything that they can to help the music artist, one of the big things that we have to worry about is, how do I help this person monetize what they're doing?
Right.
So you have the artist, or the managers rather, who have been doing this for a while. They obviously have these vast networks that they can open up a lot of doors for the music artist, but they also have a lot of experience in how the music business works behind the scenes, because particularly with young artists, my cat's sitting here looking up at me, particularly with a lot of new music artists who maybe they don't live in a city like Nashville or Atlanta or Austin or someplace like that, they don't understand all of these gears and working parts of what goes on in the music business behind the scenes. They have a tendency to think, I'm going to write songs, and my songs are good, and I'm going to get up on stage and do my songs, and everything's going to fall into place after that. And that's just not the way it works.
Absolutely.
So these other artists, they find managers who are more established, because those people understand how this business works. So they can jump in, even during those day-to-day operations. They can jump in and go, hey, you might not want to do that, because if you do that, this is going to happen. Or if you do this, the perception of you is going to go into a light that we don't really want it in.
So they help you protect your brand and your public image.
Definitely, yeah. A good manager can spot those things, even if it's not necessarily their specific area of expertise. They are familiar enough with all of these different languages that are spoken by producers and by songwriters and entertainment attorneys. They understand that language enough that when something comes up, they can say to the artist, hey, I just noticed this. I think we need to go talk to this person to make sure that we're going down the right road. And that's what you're really looking for.
So it kind of makes me, the analogy that came up in my head is kind of a CEO, COO relationship, where, the artist sets the larger vision,
right,
and the manager makes it happen day to day, make sure that those goals are being met.
Yes. And, you really want to find a manager, and this starts getting into the dynamics of the relationship and the personalities, but depending on what kind of artist you are, you might be looking for a manager who has a tendency to kind of lean on you to make sure that they're pushing you to meet these deadlines. There are a lot of managers on the flip side who would say, I don't want an artist who I have to lean on. I want them to already be doing that without the pressure from me. that's the difference in the personalities that pops up sometimes. And different
Right.
people have different personalities. Different, there are artists out there who need somebody who's willing to lean on them. And you might have a manager out there who is, you could say, an alpha personality, where maybe they don't mind being the person who leans on her. So you might have a really good manager and a really good artist, but the personalities might conflict a little bit and might not work. That even though both of them are good on their own, or might be good in a different situation, you put the two of them together and you might have headbutting, and you don't want that.
Absolutely. You need to be able to mesh because you're going to be working with this person.
Very closely.
Right.
Very
Okay,
closely.
so we're out of time for this segment. We're going to pause now and listen to a song and come back. And we're going to talk about how and when to get a manager.
Got it.
Enjoying that first part of the conversation with Wade Sutton, where we talked about what managers do. So we're going to go to a song, Love So Good by LRX, and then we'll come back and look at the last part of my conversation. We'll be right back.
Come on, yeah, yeah, soul music, yeah, love, the foundation of God, billions of years of hard work paid off. The love of life is a blessing. Educate yourself and you see that you're destined to be what you want to be. Take those stairs. Your life is priceless. Feel like a billionaire. Know that you're a child of God. And since you're a God, this love ain't hard to receive. So take your breath and be blessed and know that the love of God's at your doorstep. A whole wide world to explore. You can be like Nas. The world is yours. Take a walk outside and watch the sunset. You want to feel the love of God? How high does the sun get? God is great, God is good. I can feel the love of God in the neighborhood. Love so good. Let's celebrate the spirit that gives you life. This is the music at LRX, that's right. Sit back, enjoy your life. Take a listen. If the music feels good to your spirit, it's what's missing. Music is a medicine to soothe your soul. So music in my heart since I was 10 years old. But nowadays I see no meaning to the lyrics. And where in the world is the soul in the music? God is the creator of music and life. They go together like birds in the trees, real tight. You can hear the children in my neighborhood singing songs to the Lord for generations. Love so good. Yeah. Can you see his love so good? The love of God is so good. Soul to soul, let's flow, let's clear it. Cleanse your body of the bad spirit. Songs of Jesus to clean your mind. Stay in the light of God, commit no crime. Remember to pray to your spiritual father. Let him know of the danger, the devil won't bother. Heavenly Father, and do what daddies do. Come to the rescue, he got love for you. It's so good. My Lord has a heart that's so good. Yeah. The love of God is so good. Yeah. God is good. Yeah. He has a heart that's so good. Yeah. My Lord has a heart that's so good. Yeah. Jesus has a heart that's so good. Yeah. Yeah. Don't you know the Lord is so good? As a heart is so good. You can spread this love. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Yeah.
We're back. This is ECHE Music TV. I'm your host, Simone Henry. And I'd like to thank LRX for that song that reminds us that God loves us in spite of what we do or what we say. And there's nothing, like Romans 8:38-39 says, there is nothing that can separate us from the love of God, which is in Christ Jesus. That's my favorite verse. We are talking to Wade Sutton today about managers, what they do, what they don't do. And our second part of a conversation, we're going to go over how to get a manager and when to get a manager. Okay, so let's roll that.
Okay, we're back with Wade Sutton of Rocket to the Stars Artist Services. And at the end, we'll talk about who you are and what you do. I totally forgot that part.
That's okay.
I wanted to jump right in. Okay, so let's, so when should an artist be looking for a manager?
My personal belief is this: when a music artist truly, honestly feels that there is so much stuff going on in their music career that if they don't bring in another person, that the whole train's just going to go flying off the tracks. That kind of goes back to what I was saying before, that you hear a lot of people saying, well, I don't have a whole lot going on, maybe I need to get a manager. It's just the opposite. What you really want to do is you want to wait until there's just so much stuff going on that you don't have a choice, because a couple of things happen when you wait until that point. One, you have to keep in mind that once you do hire a manager, that manager is going to be working for a percentage. So if you don't have a lot going on in your music, you're going to be giving them a percentage of a final sum that's already not that much.
Right.
So think about this from a business perspective. You're trying to put yourself in a position where you can monetize your music, to do it on possibly a full-time basis. I know some people are more than happy to play part-time and be happy with that. But if you're looking to do this on a full-time basis, you need to be able to bring in as much money as possible. Right. And you need to be able to keep as much of that money as possible. Absolutely. Until you hit a point where giving somebody a percentage of it is feasible, and that with whatever is left, you can still live off of. Right. So you want to make sure that you keep as much of that money as possible for as long as you can. The other reason is this: think about it in terms of the quality of the manager that you are capable of hiring at any given point. These people are working for a percentage. So if you're not making very much, the better managers are not going to be interested, because their percentage of that small amount is going to be next to nothing.
Right.
So they're going to look at that and say, well, why would I waste my time when I've got these other artists who are out there making far more money, that I would be getting a cut of that? That's where they're going to end up spending, their energy. So if you have a lot of different things going on, and if you're monetizing the music, and you're performing, and you're selling merchandise, and you're doing house shows, and you have some streaming royalties that are coming in, and maybe you have sponsorships that are coming in because you've really worked hard to align yourself with some businesses that see enough value in there that they're willing to cut you a check every month, then you're putting yourself in a position where when you do say, I'm going to hire a manager now because I need help, the managers who are worth their weight in salt are going to look at that and go, okay, this is something I want to be a part of, because not only do I believe in the band and the artist, but this is something that is feasible for the manager on a financial level,
Right.
that they can jump in and they can dedicate their time. Because you know what, if you're going to hire a manager, you want that manager working for you as much as possible.
Absolutely. And happy to be working for you.
Right. And if they have 8 or 9 artists that they're managing at a time, and you see that sometimes, if they're managing a lot of different artists, but they have, say, 5 of the artists are making up 95% of that manager's income, and then you've got these other 4 that combined are making up the other 5%, guess where that manager is going to be putting most of their time and energy?
Absolutely.
And
Right.
and it's understandable.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so that's why I tell people, look, don't hire the manager until you're in a position where financially you can afford it. And in 2, you have enough stuff going on that you are an attractive client to them.
Right.
Because otherwise you're going to end up with somebody who's inexperienced, and it's not a horrible thing, because we all start from that point at some point in our
Everybody
career.
has to start from the bottom.
Right. But you know, if you're wanting to do this full time and you've invested a lot of money into, you know, developing a platform, a website, a press kit, you have promotional one sheets that you're using, you know, you're going out and having EPs produced, and you're signed up with a professional rights organization, and you know, you're paying for those luxuries that come with them. You want to find the manager who is going to do the most for you at that point.
Right.
So
Okay, so how should an artist go about getting a manager? If, you know, especially if they want someone who is experienced and established.
the first thing that I tell people to do is, we have 2 fantastic resources that are available to us. One of them is called Google, and the other one's called social media.
Right.
And you can find out a lot of things about a lot of people by using those 2 resources. And the big thing is, you can go out and you can cast a very wide net, and in that net you can capture a lot of fish. And in this analogy, obviously the fish being the managers, but you really have to vet people. And there's no greater way of doing that than going on to Google. You can go on social media. I mean, you can friend these people and start following them and look to see what they're doing with the artists they're working with.
Right.
And start to gauge that. I know I ran into a situation, and I'm obviously not going to mention any names, but I ran into a situation just in the last couple of months where I had 2 new clients who came to me that were both being represented by the same person. And one of the clients was no longer working with that person. And if you would talk to them, they would tell you, would never work with this person ever again, had all of these problems. It was just a complete disaster. And the way they saw it, it was going to take them at least a couple of months to rebuild the damage that was done. On the flip side, the other client loved the guy and had nothing but good things to say about him. So, you know, that's what I mean. You have to really get on there and see what the clients are saying about them, and look at the way that they're interacting with the clients that they have. Look at the things that they're doing for them. Believe me, if they're out there doing great things with them, keeping those artists busy, those managers will be posting about it on social media.
Absolutely, word of mouth.
Trust me. You know, I look at somebody like Rick Barker, who used to manage Taylor Swift. Rick is now managing Trent Harmon, who won American Idol a couple of seasons ago. And I see Rick posting stuff all the time where he's out with Trent. They're doing radio tours, they're doing shows, he's got interviews, and there's all of this stuff going on. So you with that, you have what we call social proof.
Right.
We see the person out there doing this stuff. And that's why, you know, I've told a lot of artists, you can go online and you can say, hey, I'm thinking about hiring a manager. Can some people that I know on Facebook drop some names so I can start looking into a few different people? And you'll get recommendations.
Yeah.
and use that opportunity to see what they're doing for clients. You can call them up and have a conversation with them, and somebody can sit here and tell you, I'll do this, I have the ability to do this, that, and the other thing. But hearing them say that versus actually seeing them doing it with other clients, that's two very different things.
Two different things, yeah.
So that's the route that I would go with that. And you will find, particularly if you're networking with people in Nashville, Atlanta, Austin, Los Angeles, New York City, these music cities where music is a big part of the culture, you will find artists that know quite a few managers, know quite a few things about those managers, and that kind of gives you a starting point of where to begin looking.
Right, because they will have tried a few.
Yes.
I imagine. Okay. So, we're at the end. I almost forgot to look at my clock. So tell us about you and Rocket to the Stars and what you do.
Rocket to the Stars is an artist services record label, and what that means is I provide a lot of the services to music artists that record labels used to provide. Obviously, they don't do that anymore. The music industry's changed a heck of a lot over the last years. So I do a lot of platform development in the form of the creation of websites, electronic press kits, promotional one-sheets. I have a journalism background because I was a radio journalist for 18 years, and I use those skills to do a lot of things like biography writing, press release writing. I also work with music artists on the development and the production of their live show. I do a lot of performance training with people because I consider the live show to be a big part of the artist's platform.
Right.
Also work with them on the creation of sponsorship decks so that they can begin to monetize their music in that form. Do a lot of general music business consultations. And what I do is like a really big canopy. I also have the 6-Minute Music Business Podcast, which I started about 10 weeks ago, and a new book that's about to come out called Hacking Music that I wrote with John Pashada, who runs Jetpack Artist Ventures in Nashville, and Jeff McMahon, who was Tim McGraw's keyboard player for about 20 years.
Awesome. I am so thankful that you were able to join me today for the ECHE Music TV. I will probably send you an invitation for you to come on again, and we can talk about a different topic altogether.
Definitely. I would love to do that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome back to ECHE Music TV. I want to thank Wade Sutton for sharing with us his insights on managers. I have learned so much. I hope you have too. And if you're an artist who is not sure of where to go, how to set up your goals, and if you've recorded a single, but you're not really sure where to go and you're stuck, I am offering free consultations where we can talk about it and we can discuss what you need to be doing next in order to get your music career moving. So if you'd like to take advantage of that offer, I have a few spots open in the next few weeks. Get on my website, echemusic.com/MMA. That's ECHE Music, ECHE music.com/MMA. And I will be happy to talk to you about it. Now, we're going to close out our show with an artist named David Griffiths. You will want to listen to this song all the way through. His voice is just heavenly, really heavenly. And this song is called Walk Together Children. I'll see you next time.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, David Griffiths. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. Talk together, children, don't you get weary. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Sing together, children, don't you get weary. Sing together, children, don't you get weary. Shout together, children, don't you get weary. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Gonna mourn and never tire. Mourn and never tire. Mourn and never tire. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Gonna and never tire. Mourn and never tire. Mourn and never tire. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land. Get you ready, children, don't you get weary. Get you ready.
Thank you for watching ECHE Music TV. Be sure to subscribe to this channel so you never miss an episode. To receive the free gift mentioned in this episode or to have your song featured, please visit us at tv.echemusic.com.